All right. Can everyone see the screen? Just making sure that this is working technically.
Works for me.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right.
Works for me.
Perfect. Great. That's good. All right. So, I already mentioned it, but I'm just going to quickly repeat it here as well. So this session is being recorded. I will also do my best to rate some minutes later on. If you don't want to be in the video, if you don't want to be in the recording, well, last chance to leave, I guess, or turn off the camera. Um, for starters, quick housekeeping call. I would like to invite everyone on the call to basically follow the FreeBSD project's community code of conduct. I think it's reasonably easy to follow. There's a couple of base rules. I would like to suggest that we mute ourselves whenever we're not speaking. We keep ourselves as short as possible and don't digress when we talk. And obviously, if someone speaks and keeps on rambling, then me as a moderator, I might jump in sometimes and maybe remind ourselves to please stay on point. Otherwise, I would like to extend the invite that basically, please, when you want to talk, just raise your virtual hand and don't interrupt others while they're speaking. Exception to the rule, obviously, that I might be jumping in if someone keeps going on, let's say, around making points. If you do have questions and I don't notice the virtual hand, then please feel free to interrupt me. It's fine if you interrupt me while I'm speaking. I'm fine with that. But in terms of community conversation, I would like to ask everyone to please respect the others and let everyone finish. All right. Today's agenda. Why are we here? Obviously, we're very much interested in laptop and desktop in general for FreeBSD, but I think it would be worthwhile to use this opportunity, to introduce ourselves and also speak up why we're here, how long we've been using FreeBSD, and what we want to get out of this call. So with that, let's jump right into that. Hold on a second. Here we are. And I'm just going to walk through all the participants list. If you want to use the opportunity to introduce yourselves, then please use the raise your hand option. Because if anyone doesn't want to get introduced, then I will just skip you otherwise, okay? All right, perfect. I will just start as an example. Who am I? I'm Chris Mertz. What's my interest in FreeBSD? I'm technically versed and I like FreeBSD. It's one of my daily drivers. I've been using FreeBSD since version release, I think 5, something like that, 5-ish. And for today, my expectation is that hopefully we will have a great conversation around laptop and desktop use of FreeBSD, identifying areas of interest that are important to us and figure out how to move that forward. And obviously, I want to contribute by setting up this call, moderating them, and move things forward, basically. All right. So let's move through the list. Eric, you want to introduce yourself? Please go ahead.
Yeah. Yes, I am the founder of GoesBusy and also a FreeBSD port commenter. I'm from Canada, and my interest of those meeting is seeing where it's going because GoesBusy interest is only desktop and laptops, and maybe some ARM board in the future. So my interest is purely to see where it's going and hopefully be able to help with that to make it better for FreeBSD, better for GoesBusy.
Sounds great. All right. Thank you. Jean-Sébastien. Hey.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Jean-Sébastien, nickname Dumbbell in the FreeBSD project. Using FreeBSD for about 20 years as my daily driver. I almost never used it on a server, only on the desktop or laptop. My interest thus is that I can continue to use FreeBSD on my work and personal workstations. And I would also love that other people can do the same. So yeah, I currently contribute to the DRM drivers, working on updating them to a later Linux version. I did that for some years, and yeah, I will continue to do that.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, who's next? Gleb.
Hey everyone, do you hear me?
Yes. Yes, we do.
Okay, great. I am working for a company named Future Crew, and we are developing basically a FreeBSD distribution, desktop oriented. So we are obviously interested in all this desktop stuff. I am also a port committer. I'm using FreeBSD for about 15 years, I guess. On one hand, I hope to get some help with problems we face during our development, and on other hand, we also gather some experience. We have quite some code to share, to upstream. That's it, I guess.
All right, thank you. Martin, you want to go next?
Yeah, I'm Martin Krakauer. I've been using FreeBSD since '94, since I switched from NetBSD to FreeBSD. And it still works a lot better for me than Linux in many situations, not in all situations. That's why we are here. And my special interest is the browser situation, that the Linux version of Chrome is not quite stable, and the native version doesn't have a login with the sharing of passwords and your hot links. And when it comes to contributing, I'm comfortable in userland and kernel code, and I'm a committer since '97. And yeah, that's about it.
All right, thank you. All right, anyone else wants to introduce themselves, please raise your hand. Otherwise, we're just going to move along. Here we go. Matthias, you're next.
Hi, so I'm Matthias. I've been using FreeBSD on the server since version 4 and desktop since version 7, 8-ish, something like that. And using it as my daily driver. I've been a lot around in the industry around people who use Linux, so I've had to use Linux, and I'd like to participate in bringing the joys of FreeBSD to these people and to our work environment, which, in my experience, means we need to get people to adopt. I mean, to be able to adopt FreeBSD as a daily driver, because that daily experience is what. I mean, the lack of that daily experience is what introduces a lot of friction. So that's where I'm trying to help.
That sounds great, yeah. All right, thank you. Christos, let's start from the top.
Hello? Hey, you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so I'm Christos. I've been contributing to FreeBSD for 4 years, I think, maybe more, maybe less. So I'm relatively new, I guess, compared to the rest. And I've been mostly working on audio lately. And so as part of this project, I'm planning to make audio more usable on laptops, because most of them use Intel drivers, which are, as most of you know, probably the most complicated driver we have in terms of audio. So we'll make an effort to make it a bit better it is already. So we'll see how this goes. So that's about me.
Thank you. All right. Joe.
Hello, everyone. My name is Joe McGrone. I probably started using FreeBSD in the late 90s. It's a very light user. The short version of it is that I was trying to share an internet connection, and what Linux had to offer just didn't work. So can everybody hear me? I'm
Yes,
not muted.
it's working, actually.
Yeah.
I think Satish probably has some audio issues, yeah.
So yeah, somebody helped me out to install FreeBSD because Linux wasn't working properly for sharing an internet connection in a shared apartment. And then so I just gradually kept using FreeBSD more, and I became a ports committer. Oh, must be going on close to 10 years because an academic group that I was part of, we ended up running FreeBSD on a cluster, which was kind of madness, but it was fun. And I'm also very interested in FreeBSD on laptops because I almost exclusively run FreeBSD at home, including on my laptop. Yeah, and in the ports, I take care of some desktop-ish tools like Emacs and a bunch of others that I won't go through. And I live on the east coast of Canada. Actually, I'm originally from a place pretty close to where Eric's from, which is kind of unique because it's a pretty small area. So I think I'll stop there.
All right, thank you. Merrick, I hope I'm not butchering your name here.
Yeah, no worries. So I've been using FreeBSD about since COVID, so I think I'm probably on the side of least time used. So I did a GSOC project last year about porting Batman, which is a networking mesh networking thing, to FreeBSD. And right now, my main interest is wanting FreeBSD to be usable on laptops because most new people into FreeBSD are likely students, and most students.
Is it just me, or did I lose audio?
No, I can't hear.
Oh, I think I forgot to unmute myself. Sorry. No, so I was saying, yeah, I've been using FreeBSD since COVID, so not too long. And last year I did a GSOC project where I ported Batman, which is this mesh networking thing, to FreeBSD. And my main interest right now is wanting to see FreeBSD usable on laptops because most newcomers to FreeBSD are students, and most students use laptops. And so, if the laptop experience becomes better, then more people want to stick. And so right now I'm working on sleep support for modern laptops.
All right, sounds great. Perfect. Thank you. Ed, you're next.
All right. So I'm Ed Mast. I've been working on FreeBSD since 2003, I think, starting with FreeBSD 4.7, and have been a committer since 2005. I worked at a company that built a product on FreeBSD, and so my work was primarily networking and build infrastructure and updates and things like that for their derivative of FreeBSD. I've been using FreeBSD as a daily driver on my laptop since while I was still there since before 2010, and then I've been working for the FreeBSD Foundation since a little after 2010. And I would say that my goal in this meeting is really to get feedback and insight into priorities for the work that the foundation is taking on within the laptop support effort that we have. And Alice will talk a little bit more about that in a moment. And I think my main personal interest in this, I think, is that it is critically important for FreeBSD that we have a viable and compelling environment for FreeBSD developers themselves to be able to use FreeBSD on the machine that they're doing their work on. Even if you are primarily a networking focused person or working on drivers or whatnot, it's important that the machine you are able to use as your daily driver is running FreeBSD.
Great, thank you. Olivier, you're next.
Yes. Hello, everyone. So I'm Olivier Sertner. I live in Nice, southeast of France. I've been using FreeBSD since 2004, I think, end of 2004. And it has been my daily driver almost all these years, on desktops and on laptops as well. I've only recently engaged with the community. It was two years ago or something, 3 years ago. Now I've been working under sponsorship of the foundation on several topics, including yet to come revamp of Union FS. I'm quite interested actually in having FreeBSD working on desktop and laptops. This is what I'm using daily. So really, I would like that to continue and to even to improve, because for laptops sometimes we have some support problems. I've tried also to become. I've been doing some stuff that is in support of, could be in support of DRM and Linux compatibility, but we'll see how that goes as well. And I'm quite interested in scheduling topics, and that's probably the main reason why I'm here.
That sounds great.
I intend to work on heterogeneous scheduling actually for the new Intel generations of chips.
Perfect. All right. Ctesh, is that it? Sorry, I'm butchering your name there. Ctesh, I think you're muted. Okay, it looks like you might be having audio issues. Okay, all right, then let's move to Charlie in the meantime. Charlie.
Yeah. Hello. Yeah. I would have my video on, but I'm actually in the middle of fixing a graphics. Well, I have to update and load the graphics kernel module before I can actually use Jitsi on my laptop. But anyway, yeah, I'm Charlie, ports committer. My original mandate imports has and still is desktop stuff. Desktop team, the GNOME team. I do a lot of Python stuff, some Rust stuff, ham radio stuff, a lot of port stuff, and apparently I've been tasked with also figuring out or helping to figure out package base and the LLVM bin utils. Joe and Ed, you will have an update at some point. There's a long story behind it. Anyway, for the questions, how long have I been using? I've been using FreeBSD since around 2016, 2017. 2017, I was just like, all right, screw it. We are running everything, desktop, everything on FreeBSD. And what I want to get out of this, eventually is to figure out, a better framework, pun intended, for making desktop, desktop and desktop infrastructure and of course laptops, by extension, the development of such, more sustainable, figuring that out, because just there are some intricacies in especially the port side of things. You can't necessarily develop things in piecemeal. You have to do it together, but also also figure out a way just so that at least a few of us can really just do this without having to also focus on other things that may distract from the goals here.
Okay, thank you. Wolfgang.
Yeah, all right, so sorry. So we had a bit of technical issues, me and Stash. So what we're here for basically is, me and Stash, is to have a voice for the Discord community and the ERC, because we're the ones who we're two of the leaders from the community team over there. So that's what we're essentially here for. I'm also here because I am interested in laptops specifically, not the technical side of it, but more the advocacy documentation aspects of it. So that's pretty much my introduction. My real name is, by the way, if somebody doesn't like the nickname.
Well, documentation is also very important, so thank you for being here. All right, Mark, I think you also want to speak. Here you go.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Mark Peak. I've been I've used FreeBSD for over 25 years and been a committer for over 20 years now. I worked at two startups that used FreeBSD and appliance products, and we had both of those companies had successful exits. So FreeBSD has proven well over the years, and in fact, is still being shipped in some of those products today. With a 15 to 20-year lifespan for the code base. So my interest in this is twofold. One is that I see the need for the low-level subsystems to be improved, to have better compatibility, ease of use. When you think about USB, power, Bluetooth, et cetera. And then also the user experience on the other side of it, of improving the user experience of how you install, how you operate FreeBSD, such that at some point you shouldn't have to drop into a CLI and remember all the flags to a program in order to adjust your audio. So I think that there are two sides of it that we as developers need to make the hard things easy for the end users.
That is a very good point. Thank you. All right. I think that is a great segue into what we have also on the agenda, because one of the next items here is basically, apart from setting up the, let's say, organizational aspects, also digging into the areas of interest. But before we dig in, let's just quickly hopefully agree on the couple of points that I jotted down here, which is primarily kind of like setting the lines that we paint in, sort of. I would like to suggest to make this a monthly call on each third Monday every month. I hope that works for the majority of people. For the time being, I would also like to suggest that we keep communicating over the desktop mailing list. I know that some people said it is noisy, which is a fair point. On the other hand, the communications that we had particularly focused on this work group was, let's say, rather limited. I always put the LDWG bracketed as a prefix. I would also like to suggest something that Alice recently, she came up with a, I think, very nice nickname called Ludwig, because this is kind of the letters for Laptop Desktop Workgroup, LDWG. If you just spell that out, it comes out as Ludwig. So if we if we want to give that a nickname, I think that is a great nickname for the call series. We have a wiki page, which I think is probably for the time being the best point to place any kind of status and overview information. And this is also the place where I will link any minutes and the recordings, obviously, to basically have one place. There is also, I want to point out, there were suggestions and conversations in the run up to the call, suggesting that we put the minutes in the official repository. I will set up a Fabricator review for that, but I think primarily it's probably going to be easier to just link it from the wiki wherever it lands at the end of the day. All right. With that, I would also like to quickly go over or present, let's say, what we also have on the wiki. And I'm because of the time, I will summarize, let's say, and I would like to invite you to basically raise your virtual hand if you want to speak to whatever you see on the screen. If you have, I don't know, counter argument, if you want to see something changed, then please use the opportunity to speak up. But I think, generally speaking, I hope that everyone can let's say, agree with the points that we have here. That this work group is primarily about, and I think this reflects what you guys have said during the introduction. It's about the creation, validation, prioritization, and delivery of, user stories and functionality that at the end of the day is relevant to laptop and desktop use cases. And there's also the FreeBSD Foundation project, the Laptop Investment Work Package. Alice is going to run us through that also. And it's about encouraging contribution and facilitating collaboration, so to speak. And this is both about software as well as basically support of hardware use. And to ensure that we also deliver on that, we're suggesting 3 key metrics. On the one hand side, that we deliver consistently, that we engage each other through calls like this, for example, and that we steadily also keep working on the things that we want to commit our time and resources on. Right. And last but not least, there is, I think 3 key deliverables that are obviously something that I think also, again, was very nicely touched on during the introductions. Yes, it is about usability. It is very much also about documentation, because documentation allows people to basically take the hurdle of actually getting things set up for the first time. So it's also very much about introducing new people and help the community grow. And that kind of summarizes what we have now on the wiki. Again, if you feel you disagree with any of the points, it's not like, at a it's not like at a how do you call this? It's not like when people marry that you have to speak up now or be forever silent. If anything comes up later on, please feel free to reach out when we can have an offline conversation as well, of course. All right, with that, let's move on to the areas of interest. We had various conversations, postings, mails going back and forth about the things and topics that people found were relevant when we introduced the idea of this work group. And I did my best to compile all that in the worksheet that is also published on the wiki. And from those topics, I kind of found those 3, 6, 9, 10-ish categories. 11 actually, sorry, 11-ish categories. And each of those items, I did my best to slot in those various categories, so to help us walk through the various items. And I would like to walk through those items, quickly have a conversation about those, and maybe by raising our hands, do a quick vote on what we believe is the level of importance and the level of commitment that we believe should be going and can be going into those particular topics. And I also would like to add, if you think something is missing, then obviously please feel free to add to the items. Because of the fact that I expect that there might be more people interested in voting than just the people on the call at the moment, I'm actually hoping to extend that voting procedure beyond the call by adding the opportunity to have an online survey. And that online survey will be rating on a scale from 1 to 4 where 1 is usually the least important to 4 is the most important, or 1 is the least support and 4 is the full support, that we believe is important. And the third point I think that is also very important here is the question of if any one of you or anyone participating in the survey probably later on is interested in taking a lead on the particular topic, because obviously it's going to be not just this call probably, but I suspect it's going to take more than just having regular monthly calls to work on the particular items. So let's start with the first one, the console. 2 items that came up here was better UTF-8 support and also color support in VT. Though I have to admit, I'm actually kind of surprised by the color support, because I think it is in there, but maybe I'm mistaken. And the better UTF-8 support, I think, is reasonably self-explanatory. We're talking about the terminal console, not the graphical ones here, obviously. And improvements to input methods. There was a user, apparently a Japanese user, who mentioned more colors. Yes, more colors is always better. Improvements in terms of supporting Japanese letters. I suppose Chinese letters might fall into the same category. Kanji, I don't know, there's all sorts of other letters beyond the regular ASCII, and maybe that is related to UTF-8. I'm actually not completely sure. Let's start with the UTF-8. Maybe quick show of hands who thinks this is something that you believe is important and that needs focus. Okay, there's one. Okay, here, yeah. Anyone else? Okay, just the one, I suppose. All right. Okay, Joe also, so this makes 2, I guess. All right. 3. Okay. 3 on the UTF-8 end. All right. Okay. Then what about the improvements on the input methods? What about the improvements? Is this 2 for the improvements on the input methods, or is that okay? So this is going down. So I suppose there's only 1 less here. Okay. Okay. 1 on the input methods, 3 on the UTF-8. Okay. There's actually 2 on the input methods, 3 on the UTF-8 support. All right. Okay, 3 on the improvements. All right. Okay, so we're equal on UTF-8 and input methods. Okay. All right. Okay. Then, having voted on that, let's move to the next items. But before moving on, actually, let me just make sure I'm double checking here. Okay, there is a couple items you see. Okay, how to vote? Sorry. Okay, how do we vote? There's a hand icon in the middle that allows you to raise your hand. So basically, by raising your hand, you usually say you want to speak. But in this instance, we're kind of misusing that for the sake of voting. Yes, exactly, Americ. I believe too that this is probably very closely related. I also believe that the Japanese and the kanji letters is very much also about the UTF-8 support. I would still ask around, though, whether there's other items that you believe are missing here, because someone in the chat actually, I forgot who actually mentioned it. I think an on-screen keyboard was mentioned. I think that might also be interesting. All right. Anyone else have any items that they believe are missing here? Okay. Sounds like we have that so far. Okay. Joe, you're still having your hand up. I'm going to lower your hand. So we're going to be starting cleanly. All right. All right. No problem. Yeah. No problem. Okay. Let's move to the next item. If anyone else has anything, please. True color support. Yes, you might be right. Right. I too believe there is some color, but definitely not full color. That is completely right. Yeah. All right. Here we are in the desktop environment category. Some people mentioned they would be interested in having a graphical interface for file managers and CFS snapshots. This is, I believe, very much about integrating CFS snapshots into the available file managers in the usual big desktop environments that we have, like KDE and GNOME. Then again, I think XFCE might also be a candidate. Thuner, I think it is. And right now, there is a lack of support for that, people were saying. Anyone got interest in that? Okay, there's one. There's two. Okay. We have 4 people already. Okay. Okay, 4 people believe this is important. All right. 4 people. Okay. Okay, let's go with the next item. The next item is about having a better updating experience. People mentioned that FreeBSD update is great on the command line, but on the other hand, you have to do things separately. You have FreeBSD update for base. You have PKG for upgrading your packages. And yes, we now have PKG base. Okay, we see people are very much interested in that. 9 people, or 9 people. Yes, 9 people, 10 people already. There you go. This is going like hotcakes. 11. Okay. Yes, PKG base is great. We can definitely have better documentation. I agree on that. I personally actually believe that it's one of the strengths of FreeBSD that base and packages are separate, and that there's separate tooling for upgrading that. But then again, this is just my opinion. Right. So there is definitely very strong interest in that. Right. So between 9 and 11 people, definitely, this is the strongest item so far, clearly. Any one of you believe there is anything missing there? I remember there was also kind of conversations about allowing the installer to install a graphical interface, which I think is a very controversial thing potentially. Okay, kernel modules from, okay, I kind of missed that, so I keep it separate, makes sense. Right. Any items that are missing in your opinion? Let's quickly take a look at the chat. Working on the really bad problem that kernel modules from ports break. Right, that is actually a very good point, Joe. I think everyone that is using a more modern graphics card with from DRM, let's say, we know that kind of experience. You upgrade and then you have to reinstall the modules, otherwise your graphics breaks. Need interface to CFS snapshot vaguely burns of time machine. Yes, exactly. Yeah, the time machine feature was also mentioned with the file manager integration and with CFS snapshots. That is very, 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 very true. Right, rolling upgrades. Well, I think anyone who has used Arch Linux knows that pain with the rolling release cycles. I, for my part, like FreeBSD very much because of its clear release cycles. Okay, what else have we got? DRM KMod, no crash so far. Okay, that is good for you. I hope it stays that way. Great, Nautilus, Nemo. Yes, there's so many, so many various file managers that we have. Okay, anyone else has got any other items? Otherwise, I'm going to move it to the next item. Okay, then let's move to the next documentation. This is a big one. So the first item is actually something I have to basically, this is a shout out to Dave Cottlehuber, because he actually suggested it, and I think it's a great one, because I believe it would very much help developers and also the FreeBSD undertaking around wireless and laptops in general, because users, me included, very often, if you file a bug report at all, it just is an error message or a rough description of what happened or what were the steps that you took to produce a problem. But this is not necessarily reproducible on maybe even identical hardware. And having an understanding how to, do a proper kernel dump and things like that, and how to actually produce a relevant log data for developers, I think would be very, very helpful in developing drivers, as well as anything basically related to hardware, probably. So if we were to have, I don't know, a guiding video document or whatever it takes to help people actually produce relevant data for developers, I imagine this would be very, very, helpful, for everything that we do around here. 8 people already agree with that, I guess. All right. 9 people? No, 8 people. 8 people. Great. Okay. 9 people. All right. Creating tutorials, very much related to that, I would say. But this with the strong focus on, okay, we have a clean system. How do we get from a clean system to actually having a graphical desktop? We already mentioned we have the RMK mod. We have various other ways of getting X11 running with, let's say, a frame buffer driver, but that is not hardware accelerated. And having a better or good tutorial, a go-to place, maybe in the handbook. I don't know. Maybe the handbook is sufficient. Maybe it isn't. But people were asking for better documentation. Okay, huge percentage of questions on the Discord, apparently. Okay, I imagine. I believe, or I imagine, there is so many YouTube videos that go into that. But on the other hand, not really completely sure whether that is really the way people are looking, or what the people are looking for. Right. Actually, guys, I realize I'm the only guy talking here, and you guys are doing. I mean, you're using the chat, which is great. If you guys want to talk instead, obviously, please feel free to jump in, because I think this is very much a very much a group or team effort. This is not just about me talking here. Yeah.
All right. What I want to say regarding the tutorial documentation is that for first, like, there is a lot of handbook tutorials on how to do this, but the thing is, the handbook doesn't go over all the possible regions in all languages. For example, Arabic has been an issue, I believe, with some people. A lot of people using FreeBSD in Arabic-speaking countries, but however, not having a handbook or a tutorial specifically for that language. So yeah, I agree that I agree that might not seem as big of an issue, but it's been quite the big one in the FreeBSD Discord. A lot of people join on daily asking how to install this on this GPU setup, how to install this on this specific architecture. So yeah, I'm just putting it out here.
Okay, yeah, we appreciate that. Thank you. So that is I think a great point. Getting to a system where you have a graphical desktop environment system is definitely something that a lot of people want and need, because otherwise, what are you going to do with a plain text system? I mean, of course, there's work you can do with that, but people are used to a graphical environment. All right. Let me see. Someone still has their hand up. Matthias, is that voting, or do you want to say something?
That was just voting. Sorry.
All right. Okay. No problem. No problem. All right. That's actually my bad, because I'm mixing the voting and the hands to speak up. All right. Yes. Thank you for the reminder. We have about 15 minutes left. There's a bunch of more topics As I said before, there is also going to be an opportunity to vote in more detail later on. So I would like to maybe use the time to, let's say, speed things up a little. So Alice is also a chance to run us through the FreeBSD Foundations project. And let's go to graphics. Again, probably very much related. On the one hand side, it is about graphics drivers, but it is also about other ways of making developing easier, or developing for graphics environments more easy. There were people suggesting introducing an abstract graphics layer, like people mentioned the approach that I suppose macOS, for example, took, where you have various layers, and then people can choose the particular layer that they're that they are developing towards. How are you guys feeling about that? Quick show of hands in terms of graphics. Where are we standing with that? Okay, 3 people, 4 people, 6 people, 7, 8. Yes. Okay, this one's going up very quickly as well. Right, 9 people. Okay, yeah, clearly 10. All right, 11. All right, 12. Okay, there were 12 for a short moment. All right, so yes, yes, and we're tied to Linux DRM with. That is a very good point. That's probably better not to introduce even more levels of abstraction. Linux KPI is already probably difficult enough. That's a very fair point. All right. Let's move to the next one. Installer. This one's a big one again. There were people suggesting to introduce a graphical installer, introducing functionality to allow the installer to install a graphical environment, improving the logging and visibility of the actions that the installer is taking, because many people actually said that the installer does a lot of stuff, but it is hard to grasp from a beginner point of view that anyone could actually try those steps for themselves. And we already mentioned, detecting and setting up the right graphics driver. This was actually meant primarily in terms of how to actually set up X11 properly and how to choose the right driver. This probably also connects to some people mentioning that they have difficulty in choosing, for example, the right graphics hardware, because they are uncertain whether it is supported by, for example, the DRM mod. And I suppose I'm not the first one, having seen people ask around, for example, on the forums, whether this or that card is something that runs with FreeBSD. Right. And friendliness, error handling, making the user flow more intuitive. People mentioned, for example, that you go through the various menus and it is hard to go back and forth and understand the various links between the various menus that you get. And last but not least, I think everyone of us probably has seen the Debian installer, kind of unchanged for decades probably now, where at some point you can choose common configurations where you can say, you want a desktop environment, you want the web server, you want this and that particular use case, and then installs a couple of software packages on top of your clean install, with some degree of base configuration. But obviously also potentially very controversial, because which configuration is the right one? Right. So there is that any let's say, just making sure, raise of the hands, quick. How's the degree of interest in that category? Okay, 4, 6 people, 7 people. Okay, there's 8. Okay, this goes up also. 9. All right. Okay, 10. Okay, we can see we seem to be getting our 11, our favorite categories here. So the installer is definitely one that we believe has some room for improvement, as we can see. Okay, yeah, pass-through and graphics. Right, just want the OS to install. Yes, that is a very good point. So it's a bit of a mixed bag. Having something that does everything great is obviously a bit of a challenge, let's say. All right. Anything I missed in the chat? Hopefully not. If not, please feel free to jump in, as I said before. Yes, partitioning could definitely be improved. That was also something that people mentioned on the forums, I think, if I remember correctly. So I think the installer in general, when it comes to partitioning, for example, is something that is very quickly done through the installer, but users are probably having a hard time understanding what it actually does when you, for example, say you want to have a CFS setup, what actually happens in the background, and the same probably applies for a UFS file system. Let's move forward. Performance. And here we have something that you guys already mentioned during the introduction. The recent Intel processors have economy and performance cores. And particularly when we are using a notebook, this is very, very interesting in terms of having longer battery life by switching, for example, your workload on the economy cores instead of the performance cores. And I don't know about you guys, but I've got a framework notebook. I've used a CPU set with great success to do something like that, but I didn't really document that. So that probably ties back to the documentation part, where we could probably share our experiences here to, let's say, improve in that area without having any development work happening, and learning from that, and then applying that learning to also the scheduler. We also have people mentioning on the forums, for example, that they believe the scheduler could be tuned to more desktop-y behavior. I'm wondering whether they meant let's say preemption. Actually having applications react snappily when you do something in a graphical environment. That's kind of how I interpreted it. So again, quick show of hands. How about the interest in that area? How many hands can we get for that? 7, 8, okay, 9, 10. Oh my God. Okay, all right. So also strong interest here. 11. All right, strong. 12. Okay, there we go. So that is definitely a very strong interest in that area. That is very good. All right. Okay. Yes, we should definitely quantify that on the on a wiki page. I completely agree. Preemption is quite the project. Yes, I completely agree with that, Martin. Okay, and then we have in the port availability category. I'm surprised there wasn't more in there, but one of the items that came up was VirtualBox. Yes, we have VirtualBox in ports, but the port is outdated. It is no longer supported. People mention they would need and want VirtualBox in a more recent version. And there is actually, it's quite intriguing. The conversation around that kind of revived efforts around that already. There is actually a bunch of conversation happening on Bugzilla about that, because people actually started porting. Even I started attempting to upgrade the port, but kind of fell short. I kind of managed to do a little bit around it, but people have way outdone my work so far. They're progressed nicely. So there's definitely hope on that horizon. I would very much like to invite you to check that out and join if you have the capacity. I will actually, that reminds me, I should probably post the Bugzilla PR on the worksheet, so you can follow up on that more easily. Quick show of hands, so we stay on this consistently. Who's interested in that? And obviously, it would also be very interesting to ask if you guys believe there is other ports that might be critical in making laptop and desktop more interesting for FreeBSD. Okay, 7 people so far. All right. Any other topics that you believe? 8. Okay, 8 people. Okay, slightly 9 people. All right. Updates to fingerprint Wacom ports. Yes, that is actually a very good point. Yes. Okay. Yes, VBox is definitely the standard. It's actually a shame that the proprietary module thingies that come with VirtualBox haven't really been published for FreeBSD so far. But maybe we can get people at Oracle to consider us eventually. I have an unreleased Wacom. Okay. Yes, there's definitely gaps on Beehive towards VirtualBox, unfortunately. Fingerprints, definitely fingerprints. Okay, there is definitely an interest in fingerprint support. That is good to know. All right. Let's move forward. Okay, there's definitely people still raising, so I guess around 8 to 10 people. All right. Next one, wireless. Okay, that's gonna be the hot cake, I think. Let's see who's up for more Wi-Fi, better Wi-Fi support, speedier, quicker, faster, more power. 13, 14, 15. Yes, all right. There's a record. 16. All right. Okay, there we go. Through the roof. Okay. All right. Yes, so I'm not going to elaborate on that. I think everyone knows that pain. Yes, there is wireless support and Bluetooth. Yes, absolutely. I completely agree. So it's not just wireless, it's also Bluetooth. Setup is absolutely much more pain than Wi-Fi. Yes, I also tried that. I can agree with that. Right, cheap USB dongles. Yes, that's also kind of my go-to solution usually, except for in the framework where I just change the chip to an older chip and that works. Topic of wireless USB 4 Thunderbolt. Good question. Yes, that might also be something. Actually, I'm wondering in which category that should go. Maybe we should rename that to hardware instead of wireless. What about just a quick ask around since we're together? What about Thunderbolt? How are you guys feeling about that? Wi-Fi box, yes. Okay, 4 people, 7 people. Okay, 7 people. We have 7. All right. Okay. 9. Okay. Okay. It's still 10 going up. Okay. Thunderbolt 11. All right. 12. Here we go. Okay. Very, very close, I would say. All right. Good to know. So, as I already said before, we have limited resources, limited time, and this is going to be a very quick one. I will follow up afterwards. I'm not going to dig into that. So we have hopefully a handful more minutes. I hope you guys don't mind if we maybe run 1 or 2 more minutes over. Alice, over to you. Where are you? Need to find you in the list.
I can probably be heard. Can I be heard?
Yes.
All right. Is meeting time limited by Jitsi? Is it? I don't know.
Hold on a second. I just need to.
Oh, no, it seems like it's fine. Yeah, so I'll just do a very quick update on the FreeBSD Foundation's laptop project. But I did say I was going to introduce myself. So my name's Alice Sowerby, as it says on the screen. So I get the benefits that you can actually read it as well. I'm based out of the UK. I've been working with the foundation since June, so just come up to 6 months now. I'm doing various bits of project management. I've met quite a few of you already on the call today, but it's really great to see a few new people. And I'm the person who's essentially, doing all the project management for the laptop project. And that's my intro, and it's still me, isn't it? Okay, so do you want to go to the next? slide.
All right. Actually, if you have anything to present, I made you a moderator. Do you want to show
Oh
something, or
yeah,
is it?
okay. Yeah, and I thought you had a few different slides for me, but I'm more than happy to share my screen if we can figure out how.
I think. Hold on a second.
No.
Did I? Yes, actually, you're right. I actually have. If you feel happy with the slides that I have, then let's go with those. Here we go.
Yeah, sure. So for the uninitiated, the foundation announced a couple of months ago that we are putting in around $750,000 US into laptop functionality development. And the idea is for that to cover a lot of the categories that have already been coming up today. And a few of the things that have come up specifically are included in that. We expect it to run more or less for a year to a year and a half, depending on how quickly we use up the money. Some of the money came from the foundation, some of the money came from a private company called Quantum Leap Research, who are interested in essentially selling services, and they require the laptop, FreeBSD on laptop to work better so that they can do that. Yeah, exactly. Okay, I think that's all I'll say about like the setup. And if I can figure out how to share my screen, I will. Just 1 second. I'm going to share a window. I'm going to share this window. And I'll come back to the call for input if that's okay. Oh wow, we're both sharing our screens at once. That's great. So you can see. Can you see a GitHub repo? Yeah.
Yes, works.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, it didn't give me like a green outline like some of the other sharing things do. So this is a GitHub repo on FreeBSD Foundation because it's the place where we can control the repos. It's called proj-laptop, and you should be able to navigate there. It is public. And I just wanted to give you the clue to come and look here if you want to find out more, right? Because I haven't really got probably time to go through this in detail, and I'm not going to read the README like a bedtime story. So I'll let you have a chance to go through that. And there are some FAQs, and you can see it talks a little bit about how we're running the project, how we're using the repo, how you can keep up with what we're doing. And one of the ways you can keep up with what we're doing is to join this call, because we're aiming to share the work that we do in this call when in a way that permits time, obviously. The other thing that I'd like to point you towards is this projects link here. So GitHub does actually have sort of project management tools as well, and it will bring you to, it may bring us in a moment to some views on the issues. So when you are in, I'll just go back a second, when you're in the issues list, you can, oh, it's only filtered by one person, but anyway, you can see, click that. You can see that we have a number of issues that represent work items. They're not bugs, they're just work items, okay? And they're actually not low level, they're fairly high level. But if you want to see them with a bit more context, you can come to the project board. And so one thing that you can see here is that we have some categories of the work that we're doing, which is pretty similar to the categories that Chris has been sharing. There may be a few small differences. We did call ours hardware, and that included USB 4 Thunderbolt as well. So, so yeah, if you may have a bigger screen than this. I'm currently sharing to allow it to look okay on small screens, but what you'll be able to do is, if you want, just filter down by which topic you're interested in, or you can show all of them back in. Hang on a minute. I think that's worked. And then if you scroll to the side, you'll be able to see what quarter we are hoping to deliver them by the end of. Okay, and that isn't a promise, I'm afraid, but we will do our best to keep the board up to date. Okay. If you want to see, there are a few other views. We're still slightly working on exactly how we want to use these tools to show the views, but this is a Gantt chart that goes from left to right, and you can see the roadmap and what will be delivered over time, and things start to disappear and reappear. And then if you want to look at the quarters, they go down this way. I don't know whether you'll be able to fiddle with the views. You can always give it a try. I'm logged in, so it's hard for me to tell if that's available for you. So I'm going to stop there with screen sharing. If I can figure out how to do that. 1 second. Sharing. Stop. How do I stop sharing? I don't know. Is that stopped or not?
I think that already worked. We're back.
Oh, okay.
And that also brings me back to the 2 slides that I had. And I think this still applies, that you guys are also looking for input in terms of, supported laptops, supported window environments, and you're also, I understand, looking for people helping to set up a testing group, right? You want to say more about that?
Yeah, so if you go back one, I'll just say that we have 2 draft lists for these 2 things, right? So this is what hardware should we develop against, or let's say like which laptop models should we develop against, and which window environments should we develop against. It doesn't mean overall like what can ever be used on FreeBSD. It's just the things that we would test against or develop against during our project. We have, if you go to the repo, we have a directory called supported, and inside that there's a file called laptops, and there's one called window environment, not window environments for some reason. And you can go and take a look at the list, and then we have issues to develop on those. So if you have thoughts on that, we'll pick that up in a future call most likely, or possibly send a message to the mailing list. In the next slide, which is the call for leadership one, is so one thing we don't have in the project at the moment is a specific person or sets of people who can take bigger, what's the right word? I don't know, use cases or examples of, like, let's say like I want to present, I want to join a Zoom call or another kind of video call, and I want to test that whole thing from end to end. Like, we don't have anyone dedicated for doing that kind of testing. And when I was working with the OCI runtime environment group, runtime extension group, we ran a small test project, and I think something like that would be really great, right? For some of these laptop usability issues. So if anyone has experience or just enthusiasm for doing something like that, my background does actually include user experience testing, so I can provide a little bit of support if it's something you don't know how to do.
Alice,
Yeah, then I would.
There's a couple of questions maybe, because people have their hands raised. Mark, you have questions, or want to say something, or is that a rest from the voting?
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
I think that was old. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Yeah, no worries.
How about you, Olivier? Is that a voting hand, or is that something like a question? Just making. All right. Okay. Seems like a voting hand. All right. Okay. No, sorry for the interruption.
Yeah, no, not at all. Thanks for keeping an eye on it. There's a lot going on with these calls. Yeah, so yeah, I've got some experience with running a similar group for testing Podman on FreeBSD. So I've got sort of templates for how we did that, and sort of could be kicked off with a little bit less than 0. So if anyone's interested in doing something like that, then yeah, I agree with Wolfquin. I think that would be really helpful, and actually probably quite useful for someone who is less technical, because it just requires you to be able to try stuff out on a laptop. And one final thing, which isn't on a slide here, there is there was an email to developers at, I guess it's developers at FreeBSD. Is that the email address? I'm looking at Ed to see about anyone who would like to have a framework laptop, because there's a donor who's offering to support distribution of framework laptops into the communities or the developer group. So Ed, I don't know if you can say more about that.
Yeah, it was sent to developers at, and so anyone who is a FreeBSD contributor who is not a developer but thinks that we should figure out how to get them one, I would just send Alice or me a note, and we will we'll connect you to. So donations at is where the request or the potential donation came to, and then they worked with the foundation to kind of figure out how to make the logistics work. And we hope that over time this grows into more laptops, but it's probably on the order of 10 laptops or something that will get donated into the community in the short term, and then maybe more, hopefully more later on too.
Great, thank you. Charlie, I think you raised your hand. You want to say something?
Come on. All right, here we go. Is it connected now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we can. Okay, so yeah, I just wanted to just note with the with like the usability testing and stuff. Like yes, definitely like there's that user experience testing, but I just wanted to note about just general like particularly window manager / desktop environment development. It's like I just wanted to note that like part of that workflow, it's like because a lot of us ports committers or even those who just work on ports in general, we'll do update, test the build, maybe test just that, like test the runtime of just that, and maybe it's consumers, and think that it's like, and for the most part, yeah, that kind of works fine. But when it comes to window managers or desktop environment development, you really do actually have to test every single component like as a unit. Like you can't do everything. You can't do it just as like a piecemeal sort of a deal. So when it comes to like usability testing, it's like, yeah, that's already kind of part of the development process. Maybe it just has to be made more explicit, but yeah, that's just part of it. Perhaps that could be part of that documentation of how to for those who are interested in being part of the development efforts of our group, part of that documentation.
All right, thank you. Great. So yeah, there's one last slide for you, Alice.
Output. Yeah. So this is pretty high level, but yes, I mean it at least adds a little bit of information about which releases we're targeting, and it makes more mention of some of the things that we're actually covering, which you can certainly see in the repo. So contemporary Wi-Fi, audio, modern suspend and resume, improved graphics, Bluetooth, and other things. And of course, documentation and how-to guides for the new functionality.
Great. All right. There's a couple more further resources that I basically copy and pasted. So those will be in the minutes and on the wiki as well. And right. So from here on out, basically the idea is that I will be sending out the survey to get a better understanding what the particular areas are that we want to focus on. And I would very much also like to invite you guys to give an indication of what you believe you might be interested in contributing and working on yourself potentially. And as Alice also pointed out for the foundation project, basically this is also very much a question about leadership and taking on particular areas of interest for yourself as well. yeah, FreeBSD Foundation project will continue. Hopefully, I understand in the next month, in January, we will hopefully hear some great news already. Alice, I don't know, maybe I'm putting the bar high up, I don't know. And I will continue the conversation as much and as best as possible, also on the mailing lists and forums. And I invite you to join in and with the sharing or with the link to the worksheet on the areas of interest, please feel free to add anything. If you believe there is something missing, then please add it in, because at the end of the day, this is very much only a collection of items and probably not exhaustive. And with that, let me just make a quick round around the room and ask you guys whether there is anything you want to raise or ask or specifically mention, or if there is anything missing that you believe should be said, then please either speak up or raise your hands. There is one. Here we go. Who is it? Here we go. Martin.
Yeah, it's me.
Please.
Yeah, I would like to put the browser situation on the list.
Right, that's a good point. Yes. Absolutely. You want me to add it, or I can also add it if you like.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Okay, I will do so after the call. All right. Perfect. Okay. Anyone else? Yes, browser is definitely. I agree. There is. Chrome is a beast to compile, and maybe sometimes you don't even get through. Okay. Wolfgang.
Hello, sorry. So I was trying to say the peripherals like Wacom and such. I think it would be a good idea for us to think about how to implement a way of just making them much more smoother, because you can already have like a lot of issues on multiple configurations from Wayland to Xorg on issues. It's not that important, but I thought if it has to be talked about at the very least.
All right, great, thank you. And there's some ports that need updating, Emeric. You wanna say
I'm referring
something?
to the Wacom stuff.
About the Wacom. All right, okay, makes sense. Great. Okay. One more. Who is it? Can I just click on this? Here we go. Charlie.
Oh, come on. Okay, yeah, it's a little laggy sometimes. Yeah, ports. The port situation. Some of it, it's like some of it there is kind of a logjam because of just how the dependency chain. Geez, I can't talk today. Works. Guilty as charged, but some things are quite complex in terms of the dependency chain and compatibility and whatnot. So just please try not to fret if things are not as quick as they should be. Just because of that. Also just wanted to note the desktop mailing list. So that like in terms of like being a little bit noisy for some folks, realize that the desktop mailing list is it is an active like ports like team. Like that mailing list does really exist, like primarily for like for those of us like myself and Gleb and Dima and Tobias and a few others. Especially when it comes to like Bugzilla bug reports and stuff like that. So just keep that in mind. But still good for everyone to if you want to subscribe to that list to see how some of the things happen, more than welcome to. And of course, use the list for our group too.
Okay. Thank you. There's rate mostly, yes. That is it is a reasonably noisy list, but I think at the end of the day, I think we should be thankful that it's noisy, because that means there is progress. All right. Unless anyone else wants to speak up, Looking at the goals for the next meeting, basically, I will be writing minutes. If anyone else wants to write minutes, you're welcome to join in the effort. I will be happily sharing the link to the document that I will be working on. I will give a continuous update on the ranking until we actually join into the next call. So the deadline for rating and ranking and suggesting to take on leadership should probably be with the next call. And I would very much hope that Alice, it would be great if you could join the next call to also, again, give us an update on the progress around the Foundations project. Otherwise, I think we are through. I thank you very much for joining. Thank you for speaking up. Thank you for participating and making this an interesting call. You're a diverse set of people, and looking forward to the next call in January. Anyone else wants to speak up? Otherwise, I think we're done. I think there was one more hand. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, we're going to stop the recording. Like and subscribe. I've learned that from from Michael Dexter. There we go.